All right, today we're going to talk about congruent triangles, and the first thing you need to know is what are corresponding parts. Corresponding parts are angles or sides that match with each other. They are going to be congruent to each other, okay? And order does matter, so let's write that down. Order matters, and I'll talk more about what that means in just a moment, okay? Order matters. Make sure you have that written down. And then if all of the corresponding parts are congruent, then you can write a congruent statement, which means we say what triangle equals what triangle, or what triangle is congruent to what triangle. Okay, that's your congruent statement. So let me break down what I'm talking about here. Let's look at number one. The two triangles are congruent. So they're telling you these two triangles absolutely 100% are congruent. A says identify the corresponding congruent parts. So for part A, well, triangle's made up of two things, sides and what? Angles. So we're going to write down the sides first, and then we're going to write down the angles. Okay, so we're going to have two little charts here. So what we're going to do is go triangle to triangle. We're going to match each side with its corresponding side in the other triangle. So first let's just write down all the sides of the triangle over here. So we have side AB, okay, we have side BC, and we have side AC. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you just want to write down all of your sides and have them all written down. And there's three sides to a triangle, so you should have three of them here. And then what I did is I just wrote down that they're going to be congruent to something. So order matters here. If I say AB, notice I'm going from the 3 mark to the 1 mark. So in the other picture, I have to go from the 3 mark to the 1 mark. Okay, so it's going to be congruent to FD. Now, not all pictures are set up so nice and pretty like this for you. Obviously, this one matches up really nicely, but it doesn't always work that way. So just be careful about that. So look, BC, from the 1 mark to the 2 mark. So over here, from the 1 mark to the 2 mark. So DE. All right, so now that we have those, we have AC. So from the 3 mark to the 2 mark, from the 3 mark to the 2 mark. So FE is what AC corresponds to. Okay? So now let's go ahead and write down the angles. So what are all the angles here in this triangle? There are 3 of them. There's angle A, it's going to be corresponding to something. Angle B will correspond to another angle, and angle C will also correspond to another angle. And let's go ahead and check out what that is. So A has 3 marks. F has 3 marks, so angle F must be what A corresponds to. Then we have angle B has 1 mark. Angle D has 1 mark, so angle D must be what it corresponds to. Just make that look prettier there. And then we have angle C, which has 2 marks, that goes with angle E, which has 2 marks. Okay, so what we've done is part A, and this is what you do when they ask you to identify all the corresponding parts. Okay, part B says to write a congruent statement. So you're going to say what triangle is congruent to what triangle. Well, we have this triangle on the left. I'm going to call him triangle ABC. And what you want to do is you want to match up what goes with A. F. Right? And then what goes with B. D. Okay, and like I said, this one's an easier example. What goes with C? E. All right, so that would be your congruent statement then. Get rid of all those. All right, so corresponding parts are here, and then congruent statement is that. Okay, so notice the difference between these two guys, corresponding parts and congruent statement. All right, so let's go down here. It says that these two are congruent, okay? So it says list all the corresponding congruent parts. I want you to try this one. I just did one like this. I want you to try this one, okay? So try that one. You can pause it now and do it. You can wait to the end of the video and do it, but just make sure you get it done before you see me in class. So down here, if the triangles are congruent, list out what is congruent. That's a little hint. Okay, this can help you in some of these problems. So in the diagram, this is congruent to this. Find the length of XZ. So let's look at part A. XZ. Well, XZ is what we're looking for here, and we don't know it. But there is something we do know. Look at the congruent statement. Don't look at the picture yet. Look at the congruent statement. Do you see XZ right here? See that XZ? Here, I'm gonna do it like this. XZ. See it? What goes with that in this other little triangle over here? The PR, right? The PR. So we know XZ equals PR. Well, in the picture, do we know what PR is? We do. It's right here. It's 10. So we can say that XZ equals 10 then. Done with that. So I'm matching up what is congruent. Okay, match up what is congruent. So let's look at part B. Find the measure of angle Q. So angle Q equals, well, let's look. Well, I don't know what angle Q is here, but let's look at our congruent statement. Always refer to the congruent statement. And what goes with Q? Y. Y is in the middle, right? So we know that angle Q is congruent to angle Y. Well, in our picture, angle Y is 95 degrees. So angle Q also equals 95 degrees. So remember, you want to look at your congruent statement. This guy right here is so important. Oh, I don't know what happened there. There we go. This guy right here is so important to all of your problems, all right? This is very important. You want to use him, all right? So I'm going to have you try this one. You could try it now, you could try it later, whatever floats your boat, but try that one and bring that one to class, okay? What I would do is watch the video, honestly, the first time through and the second time through, write everything down. But, you do what you need to do to get the correct grade, for you. So let's move this down. Triangles are congruent if all their corresponding parts are congruent. All right, so we're going to need to know this. So let's look at number 6. On number 6, in the figure HG and LK, what does this symbol mean? It means they are parallel. Okay, HG and LK are parallel, and I can see that on here because they've already were nice enough to put in those little triangles there. Determine whether the triangles are congruent, and if so, write a congruent statement. So, they're only congruent if all their sides and their angles are corresponding, okay? So let's look at the sides of the first triangle and list all of them out. We have side LK. He's going to be congruent to something. We have side LJ. He'll be congruent to something. And we have side KJ, which will be congruent to something. Let's figure out what's going to be congruent to what. So I look at LK, and I see that there is a marking on this. And what is your marking? It's a little 2 mark, right? So I see that there's a 2 mark down here too, but we have a problem here. I don't know what order. Do I write HG or do I write GH? Well, we don't know. Well, there's no way of telling right now. So let's back it up for a moment here before we start filling anything in. This means something to us, okay? And what this means is, if we have this going on, I want you to think back to when we learned fancy angles. And we learned that this angle and this angle was what kind of angle? Alternating interior angles. So watch out for your alternating interior angles, okay? So let me erase this stuff here. And we just said this guy and this guy were the same. Now I also want to talk about another angle you haven't talked about in a little bit, vertical angles. There are vertical angles here too. Here it is, 1, 2, 1, 2. So just mark it the same. And then we have one angle we haven't marked yet, but he's also, if you look at this, he's also an alternate interior angle too, okay? So we're going to mark him also so we can use him. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So now let's get back to side LK. Now L goes from the 1 mark on the L to the 3 mark on the K. So down here, what has the 1 mark on its angle? The G. And what has 3 marks on it? The H. So GH, this order matters. Order matters. It absolutely matters, all right? So make sure that when you're doing these, you have your order correct. The order does matter. So let's go to this next one here. We have LJ. So we have L to J. Now if we look at that, it goes from the 1 mark to the 2 mark. What goes from the 1 mark to the 2 mark in the other picture? G to J. So this is G, J. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to rebubble this. My pen's dragging for some reason. There we go. All right, now let's take care of kj. So k to j is the 3 to the 2. So what goes from the 3 to the 2 over here? hj. There you go. All right, so order does matter. There are your corresponding sides. Let's do the angles. We have angle L, we have angle K, and we have angle J. So this is going to be pretty easy. Look at the picture. Angle L has a 1 mark. What has a 1 mark? G. Angle K has a 3 mark. What has a 3 mark? H. And then the only other angle we haven't used is J. And yes, it seems weird, angle J equals angle J, but that happens. So it's totally fine, totally normal. Now here's the deal. This worked, right? All of this stuff is corresponding. All the corresponding parts are congruent. I call this CPCTC. Okay, we talk more about this later, but you call it CPCTC. Okay, just try to remember those letters for now. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, okay? So because those corresponding parts are congruent, we can say, and I'm going to give you a little cheat here. I just say triangle LKJ is congruent to, because we're given the congruent statement now, is congruent to what? Well, look, LKJ went together here with GHJ, so just go right off of that. You don't need to go back and reinvent the wheel. Just use that right there. That's your congruent statement. That's your congruence statement, okay? All right, that was a lot of work, but, we did what we had to do. We showed the corresponding parts and we gave the congruent statement, okay? So down here, what I want you to do is I want you to try number 7. It's going to be just like number 6. You're going to list off the corresponding parts. You're going to look for alternate interior angles. You're going to look for vertical angles. Do those things. Don't come in and say, I can't do it, because I know all of you can find at least a vertical angle. And I know most of you can find the alternate interior angles. And I know there are a few of you that are going to get this completely right. Okay, so finish those up, bring those to class, and we will see you then. Ta-da!